Okay. Hello, it's Jessica from Porchlight Real Estate Group. I'm here today with Amy Chitwood. She owns Acute Designer, which is such a cute name. I love it. And Amy's done some staging work with me for some of my clients. I guess this would actually be a good time for me to say something about that. So I do have stagers that work with me, and we stage all of my listings, occupied or unoccupied. So Amy's done some work with me on occupied listings, but she also does staging work on vacant listings. So that's a really cool service that I offer, and Amy's an awesome stager that I work with. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How long have you been staging and designing?
Well, I've done for, 14 years. But I've kind of found that I really appreciate and enjoy the staging aspect. So I've been doing that for 3 years. Started up Acute Designer 3 years ago. We're almost on our 4th year, coming up in June. So it's been so much fun. But yeah, I've been doing it for quite a bit.
What I think is so interesting that I have just learned about you is that your business is really pretty much all real estate. So staging houses to sell is your niche. And that's, I think, really, it's an interesting niche because it's different than staging a house that someone lives in.
Right. We do on the occasion help kind of, I would say, design or style a home for maybe some of these buyers that actually purchase these homes. They'll contact us to help with, decorating needs. But yeah, staging a home to sell is definitely a different beast when it comes to design. You still want it obviously to feel homey, and you really want to show off all the best features of the home. But it's definitely more minimalized
Right.
compared to just like decorating and whatnot. So yeah.
So my big question, I'm echoing. Do you hear that echo?
Nope.
Okay, well, if you don't hear it, maybe it's okay. I hear an echo. My big question is really around this whole DIY movement that the coronavirus has given us.
Mm-hmm.
I've read different statistics, but just now I'm reading the statistic that it's 32% of it. Well, the statistic reads 32% of Americans have done a DIY project while on quarantine. The way I read that is, if that's 32% of Americans and 64% of Americans own a home, then half of all homeowners have done a DIY project during this time, which actually makes total sense to me, because I think on my street, it's 100%, but I'm sure there's some streets that are different. So
Right.
I'm really curious about your take on that, especially if it's someone who knows they want to sell their home in, say, the next 1 to 6 months, and they definitely want to do a DIY project. Help us know what a smart DIY project might be and what maybe a less smart would be from a resale staging perspective.
Gotcha. So, there's a lot of ways that you can look at that DIY, and especially, stay budget friendly too. But if you know that you will be moving fairly soon, I would say really the biggest DIY project are doing small repairs around the house. That's a big ticket item when you have buyers coming through. They want to see that the house is well maintained. So just very small starting off projects, redoing like the caulking in the bathrooms and the kitchens, making those look nice and fresh. Getting rid of like stains that are in sinks and tubs, leaky faucets, those types of little things that we always, hate doing, but it's a good start. And usually those are really inexpensive. Another project that you can do that will definitely benefit you now in this time frame is yard work. We're coming into the spring, summer months. So, curb appeal is super important, especially, backyards. You want to pull weeds. You want to, add fresh mulch into beds, plant some flowers, really start cleaning up the landscape. And it's actually ironic. I just staged a house 2 weeks ago, and the interior looked beautiful. You could tell they put in new carpet. They put in hardwoods. It looked fantastic. but they didn't do anything with the landscape. And the house has had so many showings, but it's not selling because of the outside. So they had to drop their price because of the landscape. So that's one super important thing right now is freshen that up. I mean, and those are easy. It's beautiful out. You know, you could do that with your kids, everybody being home, you know, just getting that prepped and ready. You know, and then I always think of like the jewelry of the home, light fixtures, you know, those, if those are out, you know, kind of that brassy old style, you know, there's some really inexpensive ways to update those. So changing light fixtures out, hardware, you know, door hardware around the home, even cabinet hardware too. Those can be easy fixes. And if you have a kitchen that doesn't have any hardware, again, that's it does. I mean, and you can go Home Depot. There's even online websites that I use. Really inexpensive hardware, but it's good quality, and it just freshens it up. It's the jewelry. I mean, that adds just a huge difference to a kitchen or even a bathroom. You know, another thing I always think of too, like linens, bed linens. If you've got some kind of worn, outdated linens, you know, freshen them up. That's another thing. So, and then once you kind of go in that freshening up stage of a room, then you start thinking of other ways to make that room better. Accent walls. If you have dark, you know, purple or burgundy walls, and it's just one room or one wall here or one wall there, that's an easy fix. Get a small, you know, paint can and neutralize. That will freshen up a room. And also kind of, again, for sellers, they want to see that, you know, neutral look. Another thing that you could do too, if you, again, know that you're selling in the near future, is if you've got a room that, let's say, is technically a bedroom, but you've got it full on office, you know, bring those rooms back to their original function and start working that way, you know, start decluttering, going through. Because if you can, again, in 1 to 6 months, show it off as a bedroom, you get a little bit more impact than just a full office. Especially if you only have like, you know, 3 bedrooms, you really want to show that they're all bedrooms rather than just 2 in an office. So those are little things, but you know, with all of us being home, definitely going through each room and going decluttering and getting rid of stuff that we're not using anymore. That's another, you know, easy project you can do.
So sorry, I have something in my throat. Most people, I would say, have never had a stager come over, and so they don't know what that process is like. So I'll share a little what that looks like from when you're listing your house. So when I have a stager come to my client's house, Amy, she would come in and walk through your house with you room by room and really point out, hey, let's move this here. Let's get rid of this. Let's adjust this furniture. And it's really a room by room process. And a lot of it is decluttering. Sometimes it's reorganizing. Sometimes it's a suggestion of a pop of color here or there or something. So most houses need a few of the same things because of how we live. So my question would be, what would you say those maybe 3 to 5 things are that you pretty much know standard everybody's going to need, and maybe something they could start doing now?
Okay, perfect. So my kind of motto with staging is declutter and neutralize. I probably say that a million times when I go into everyone's home, but it really is. I know it's tough for a lot of sellers to take down a lot of their personal photos and things that really mean a lot to them, especially if they've been in the house for years. But it's so important to take away those personal items so that you have buyers come in and they can visualize themselves in the home rather than, you know, see other families. They want to be able to feel warm and homey in that space. So, you know, foremost, remove those photos, you know, stuffed animals, you know, things that could be more of an attachment to you than the home. You know, if you're in an office, you know, a lot of those personal documents, you don't want people to see that anyhow. So it's just a good way to start packing. And then might not think about it, but your jewelry, you know, in a bedroom, those things that are real personal to you, just go ahead and tuck those away. So again, it's the buyer can visualize themselves and their pieces in there. Another thing that I always say is counter spaces, or desktops or dresser tops. It's so important to maximize those spaces. So especially for countertops and bathrooms, you really want to just kind of have those cleared off. Maybe one or two items on there, just to give a little bit of decor. But especially if you have minimal space, in like the kitchen, for example, you don't have a lot of counters. So having those kind of cleared and free of a lot of pieces really helps give that illusion that you've got more space. And then when you go into like bedrooms, offices, just having like the nightstands cleared off, a lamp on there looks great. Desktop, having a computer, laptop, that's fine. But just those little items that just get that distraction. I think that's the biggest thing, is when you have too many items, you get so distracted that you forget why you're looking in these spaces. So minimize that. Another thing that you can do, small pieces of furniture. Let's say in an office you've got 3 filing cabinets. Maybe just condense it down to 1. In a bedroom you've got extra like DVD, shelving units, those things that are small that can be moved out, put in a garage, basement, something stored away. Those help. You really want to open up the rooms so they feel larger, and you just, again, less distraction when you're walking through. Another thing, closets. Most of the time, closets are not shown on online through like MLS or whatnot, but they get opened. So people want to see, what storage do I have. So I would say kind of take some of your clothes out of the closet so the clothes are kind of dispersed more evenly. Organize the shelves in there. And then really try to clear out the floor space. When you do that, again, it gives that illusion that it's a lot bigger than it really is. And then the last thing that really should be done is take care of all those repairs. Again, if the home is showing that it's been taken care of, there's no neglect to it, buyers go, okay, well then I shouldn't have to worry. There's nothing really hidden. They really have taken good care of this home, so I don't have much to worry about. So I think those are probably the biggest items.
And that lines up so much with my work with buyers. And I can tell you, oh gosh, the family pictures are such a distraction, because buyers just are curious, right? And then they'll try to create this narrative of, oh, it looks like they have a kid. Maybe their kid's grown. Yeah. Oh, I wonder if this is a boyfriend. Did they have a baby? Maybe they're moving. And it's like this whole narrative starts, and we're not even looking at the house anymore. Right. We're trying to figure out the story of the people who live there. So. Yeah.
Which is fun, but that's not the reason you're there.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So back to the paint. So a question I get a lot, and I'm not a designer nor a stager, is on paint color. Like, what's a good neutral gray or grays? There's a billion of them out there. Do you have a favorite color?
Yes, so I have 2. My first go-to, and they're both Sherwin-Williams. My first go-to is agreeable gray.
I love it.
It works with everything. You put brown tones with that, the paint color starts kind of create this like, warm, tone to go with your furniture. You put cold blue, dark grays in there, it works. So it really kind of plays off what furnishings that you have in that room. If you feel that you need to go even lighter than that, I don't like going bright white, but I have one called Snowbound. Snowbound is just a hint of kind of a warm cream, but it works with, again, gray tones, brown tones, you name it. But you're seeing a lot, the trend, especially in the Denver area, a lot of the new homes are doing like real white walls. So if you want to kind of keep up with that kind of trend, you can go that a little bit lighter white tone. And that will typically go with most of, the typical homes in the area without having to completely redo everything.
And then my last question, because I love the door pulls idea for freshening up. And you said you have a website. What website is it that you love?
Gosh, I want to say, I know this is terrible, D. Lewis or Derek Lewis Hardware.
Okay. If you
I
want to just put it as a, we can add it as a comment later.
Okay. Yeah, I found some fantastic hardware for another home I did. We basically redid the kitchen, and I found them cheaper than Home Depot and Lowe's, but you could feel the substantial weight, the quality of it. So I was like, okay, then these are my go-to now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have to put it in the comments. I can't remember exactly the website, but
Yeah, we'll just put it
really
in
fast.
comments. I think
Okay.
that's fine. So our time is pretty much up. Thank you for your time here. Appreciate it. Any last things you'd like to share?
I just think right now with more and more people going virtual with looking for homes. I mean, obviously we're at about, before this pandemic, it was about 90% people would look online first before actually viewing homes. I think more than ever, it's important to have a stager come in. You don't have to pay top dollar to have your home staged with other inventory, but it's important to have somebody come in just for an hour, hour and a half, and give you the advice to help get your home ready, because it's an overwhelming task. I've met a lot of clients in the past that, they've lived in their home 30 years. Where do you start? So it's good to have somebody with fresh eyes just come in and say, I suggest we move this out, or, what have you. Because you're in that home for so long, it's hard to kind of pull yourself out and look at a different perspective. So.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've said this home sold because of how it was staged. I mean,
Right.
Otherwise it would just be an average home, but when you stage it well, it pops and you can really see a beautiful life there.
Right. And you
Makes
can
a big
stage,
difference.
yeah, and you can stage with your own stuff. It's just a matter of tweaking it,
Right.
getting it to look just how a buyer would come in. And I also look, when I go from room to room, I think of how a photographer would take a picture of that space. And so sometimes you kind of change the layout of the furniture to match that, but it surprisingly opens up that room. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, but get a professional in there.
Yes.
It'll help.
For sure.
Yes.
I appreciate your time, Amy, and I will see you at a house soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.